Well, joining us now from Milwaukee, or points somewhere north, is Dylan Tice, former T-Bone, current Milwaukee Milkman, which still, Dylan, sounds weird to say, but howdy, how you doing? How are things up in Milwaukee?
I'm good. No, it feels weird to say too, but it's good. Things up here are good. It's a little north, a little cooler up here, but other than that, it's pretty similar. I'm just happy to be here, and we're happy to be playing baseball.
Yeah, it was weird looking at the website today, the Milwaukee website, and see your headshot, and still, I when I tweet, it's former T-Bone, current Milkman. It's still odd. It's been a whirlwind for you. I mean, last time we talked, gosh, it was back in April. You were still in the lockdown. Still, we were all still in lockdown. You're working out, trying to do the best you could, playing game nights with the family, and all of a sudden, boom, you're playing ball. Has it been that crazy of a whirlwind? It seems like it has been from just sitting here watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you're planning. The other thing is getting married and things like that. Like we're moving on a lot at home too, and indie ball being 27. Like every year is kind of your last year. You never know how long you're gonna have. So Um, it was really exciting to finally know that there was an opportunity once I got told about the draft and things like that. Because I knew I didn't really want to go down to Texas. And the other thing is like, how risky is it? We're not told. It's not like the big leagues, or we're getting told what's going to happen and we get to agree to it. It's just kind of like, here it is. This is how it's going to be. Do you want to play? So we kind of had to say yes from the get go, and I was all excited. So once the draft happened, like obviously I was thrilled then. That made things a lot easier. But come first game, I was talking to our manager, Anthony Barone, and I asked him. I said, "Are you nervous?" Now he's a first year manager, for professional baseball, and he said, "Actually, yeah, I am." And I said, "I am too." And I've played 3 years in this league, but I was nervous just from the fact that all this like anxiety and stress and caution and worry from the last 3 months of just like money and jobs and health and the whole the politics are big now and everything too. There's just a lot going on. To finally be able to like put all that aside and just play baseball was like, you were nervous, and it like got your stomach going a little bit for that first game.
Walk us through the whole process, because I mean, we all went through it as front office folks. We got the message that, hey, we weren't going to be playing as T-Bones. I'm sure you took a call from Joe, perhaps, and then from there, how long was the process from going basically not playing into, oh, here's the draft? How did that work? Was it a short few days? How was that timeline?
Yeah, so throughout the whole 3 months, it was, playing baseball, you meet guys from all over the country, all over the world. So everybody was getting phone calls, So even in March, and then the next month, are we going to play? How's your league looking? What's my league looking? What's your coach saying? And everyone's getting this inside info. Um, Joe is one of the best communicators as far as like playing for. I mean, he loves his guys, so he's always like, we're the first thought in his mind. After he had told me, you got drafted by Milwaukee, I said, thank you. He congratulated me. We're all fired up. And I hung up the phone. And then for a second, I thought, and I called him back. And I said, well, what the heck are you going to do? But that didn't, like, for him, it was so natural, not even worry about himself. And he just said, I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet. I got to call the rest of the guys and get it out there. So he made things, like, so much easier. Just the fact that he kept us, as much as he knew, he let us know. And so that made things easier. But then once the draft comes, it was like drafted Tuesday. Got the call from Anthony Tuesday night, so that instantly gets you excited again. We're kind of thinking, when's camp start? Camp is supposed to be the 25th, and he said we'd love to have you out here sooner rather than later. Because they don't know how ready we are either.
Right.
So they kind of want to see us on the field and
Sure.
kind of gauge it for themselves. So I got out here. I was called Tuesday. I was out here Sunday night.
Didn't waste any time. Dylan Tice joining us here on the Steakhouse. Dan Vaughn with you. T-Bone's voice and current Milwaukee Milkman, Dylan Tice. One of our T-Bone's legends, I like to say. Talking about Joe Capietra, too. I know Joe is, it's been tough on a lot of us. It's an opportunity, though. And it's a great opportunity for young men like yourself, because right now, currently, only game in town. Not only game in town, the only game playing really anywhere in North America besides local baseball. Has that sunk in? You guys are the only game playing. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it was. And that makes like that gives it that much more unknown. So it was, it's nerve wracking, but it's cool. We were excited. And I was honestly more excited for the fact that like this was it. There's only 6 teams now. It was dense. This was going to be, I mean, we're the best league out right now,
Yep.
especially some of these East Coast leagues, the Can-Am, the Frontier, and some of these Atlantic League. If they don't get leagues going, we're it. So it was exciting. I mean, this is everyone wants to get in this league, getting calls left and right from guys congratulating me and things like that. So that was very exciting.
As far as camp, what was camp like? I mean, obviously, independent ball camp is not like going to, affiliated camp where you might be there for weeks on end, maybe months on end if you're extended. It was a whirlwind fast. What was it like? Was it different than normal? I mean, how was training camp different for you guys in Milwaukee?
Well, obviously, we had some of the COVID stuff. We had the meetings and warnings and advice and things. They told us kind of how they want to do things. But after that, I mean, Anthony brought in a veteran club, and we have a lot of all stars. Like this is essentially being like in the All Star game last year. And when you get in
Right.
that instant, yeah, Anthony doesn't really have to push. He kind of did more of like, what do you guys need? The first day we did our general, ran our infield, outfield, we did our bunt covers, our first and thirds, covered everything we had to. And then he would just say, outfielder, infielders, what do you need? And a lot of times with younger guys and just even the first thing of camp, you got to tell them what to do. They're going to push. But for us, it was kind of, you want to show off for the guy next to you, because you want to prove you're just as good as the all-star playing next to you, to your right and to your left and the center. And it's just stars all over, for this league. So that was really exciting. That made camp like fun. It was, it was almost like a pickup game every day where you just want to show what you can do.
Yeah, I look at these rosters. All of them are like that. I mean, really, these are like superstar rosters, like you mentioned, all-star rosters. But there's a few names you recognize. You've got a couple old mates, a couple former teammates, and Mason Davis is there, and then of course, Dylan Baker would have been back this year with the T-Bones. You've got some familiar faces. That's got to help a little to have folks you know something about. That makes it a plus.
Yeah, for sure. And even like I said, being the All-Star game with Simpson and Narrier and Vertigan and some of these guys, like I've known them well too. Vertigan when he came to Kansas City, we played a game of pickup basketball on the court back there before VP. So I know, like I felt more comfortable than just the Cray and Baker and some of the other guys
Right.
I played with on the T-Bones.
Understood,
But
yeah.
I was 6'10" guys on this roster that I knew pretty well coming in. And it was essentially the core. Even Adam Brett Walker. I played with him. He was
Yep.
in Kansas City. I knew he
Yeah.
was a great guy, and he's kind of like the guy in Milwaukee right now. He's our poster child. He's the man because he's from here and he's a stud. So it's I knew guys coming in, and I was excited to be a part of this team.
As far as this whole COVID, I mean, this is a different thing. You've never gone through anything like this. None of us have. How has that adjustment been with the whole COVID in general? I mean, obviously you guys have protocols, but is that on your mind constantly every day? Do you guys go about your business that COVID's always on your mind?
Yes and no. Once you kind of step foot on the field, for the most part, you feel okay. Especially since we're spaced out in the field, we're outside. So that part of it feels pretty safe. But yeah, like even we haven't gotten on the bus yet. We were talking about doing mandatory masks on the bus, things like that. Step foot in the locker room is tight. So it's kind of those things. When you're in the locker room for an extended period of time, you start thinking like maybe I should get outside, get some air in here, whatever. Um, but again, once you get on that field, like it takes over. The only thing I would say is there's a lot more obstacles leading up to the game. Every game kind of feels like the first game of the season when you do the anthem and they march out and they
Right.
announce every player. You have extra things now to worry about, but it's like that every game. Okay, there's no
Right.
towels in the dugout. There's hand sanitizer in between every inning. You got to sanitize. You got to wash your hands throughout the game. Things like that, where eventually you become immune to it, but at the same time, it just kind of delays everything. It makes it a little slower. But
Did they? I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you there. Did they make you memorize any kind of these protocols? Do you guys have these by memory, or do you have a list in your pocket? Because it seems, I mean, what I hear, Major League Baseball is a long list. I know the association has a long list. Do you have to put this to memory? Do you carry a cheat sheet? I mean, does that seem like a lot of things to remember?
yeah, they didn't hit us all at once with this. Honestly, I think a lot of it is like some of these weren't put in place ahead of time. Not as a knock. I'm just saying like some of this stuff is unknown. Like you would never even think about it, and then when it happens, it's like,
Right.
all right, do it this way. And you're like, all right. So you're just on the fly. You're kind of learning and adjusting. And a lot of it is we decide on our own. A lot of times guys are like, well, this is just sounds dumb. Like during spring training, we have there's nobody in the visitors locker room because Chicago was down. So
Right.
shower over there, shower here, you spread it out, like just stupid things like that. There's common sense we've kind of add on our own. But yeah, the league has helped us with a lot of advice, and they've kind of educated us as much as they can on how to be safe.
The voice you're hearing is Dylan Tice, former T-Bone and Milwaukee Milkman. Still sounds crazy. Dan Vaughn with you here on the Steakhouse. You kind of mentioned this a little bit, and I actually wrote this down as a question, and you kind of alluded to it, but when you step out in the field, you look out in the stands, and I saw the videos and watched part of the games. Does it seem normal when you're playing? I mean, I know the COVID thing kind of goes away, but when you're in the batter's box or you're out in the field, does that go away?
Yeah, it did for me. It did
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Once we're out there and we just played, it's kind of like once you're first thing in baseball, the first mind is like, this is a 60-game season.
Yep.
We need to win today. Today matters.
Right.
It's not like a normal season where, if you go for your first game and for your second game, you're like, all right, I got 98 games left. I'll get it going the next few, next few at bats. It's kind of like we're down 2-1. We got 3 innings to go. We got to
Yep.
win this ball game. So that takes over a little bit of competitiveness, and we're trying to win a championship.
Yeah, and that was man, you're just like you and I know this too well. We've done this before, so we're like a
Yeah.
team here. But my next question was the sprint because my work in Australia, it's a 40-game season, and really every game matters in a 100-game season. Every game matters in a 162-game season. Joe said that. Joe Capietro said that all the time. The first one means the same as the last one, but in a 60-game season, boy, you a 4 or 5 game losing streak, yikes! 4 or 5 game winning streak. That's pretty good. Does that change you guys as a team approach that this is a not just a sprint, this is a short sprint?
Yeah, I don't know if it as much changes how much. I think the energy's there regardless. Like a lot of times maybe you'll have to push a team to do this because you do have 100 games and your off season was normal. But now the fact that our off season has been 10 months, everybody's chomping at the bit so bad. And like I said, like it's essentially an all-star team, so everyone wants to pull their weight.
Right.
Like this isn't a year where it's like, okay, I can hit 270 this year because everyone else in the lineup will hit 300.
Right.
It's like I want to hit 300 because I know the other 8 guys are going to hit 300, and this can be a special lineup. This can be fun. So I think that kind of elevates it too.
As far as the whole overall state of things, that you're away from home, and you're always away from. This is part of the game. You're part of being a player. You travel. You're away from your fiance, your family. But this is a little different. Are you a little more family concerned that you're not with them in this real crazy time, or is that in the back of your mind?
Yeah, it's more the fact that visits become tough.
Right.
So like even my fiance, we can fly her out, but with work and everything, even with COVID, like she's working from home. Is she allowed to leave? Is it safe to leave? Will, my host family, like she's probably, we got to get a hotel and things like that. And then even the other thing that goes along is as players, like me doing something dumb can ruin someone else's season, right? So,
Right.
even as far as that, everyone, we're not going to tell other guys not to see their family, but at the same time, it's kind of a respect thing, when everyone's asking before you do things, kind of make sure that you don't ruin it for any of their teammates.
Right. Sure. That makes total sense. Wrapping things up with Dylan Tice. As far as if you talked to, you mentioned this earlier, but have you talked to guys who aren't playing and some of your teammates in the T-Bones? I use, because that's what we're a T-Bone show. You talk to some of those guys that aren't playing and what's your message been to them? What have they said to you?
Yeah, of course. I talked to a bunch of those guys. And some of those guys are in our leagues. Joe's got a lot of those guys, those
Sure.
jobs. I mean, almost all of them are playing, I think. Not there until their leagues start. But yeah, I have talked to them. Everyone wants to know kind of how the process is going and what we're doing. But that also reminds me again, like when they tell us a rule that makes things a little harder, I try to remember like these guys aren't playing. Like a month ago, I told myself I will do anything to play. I don't care if I have to wear a mask on the field. I don't care if, I have to get dressed out in the parking lot instead of the locker room, like whatever. So that kind of puts it in perspective, when things are a little tough around here, we got to get tested, we got to do this, and we got to move into hotels and things and quarantine for whoever, that is one thing that kind of brings it back is when I talk to these guys, that they're at home, they're still training, just hoping that there's an opportunity because one of these teams could call, their league could start up. You just got to be ready for anything.
Final thing. You writing these things down, stories. There's some stories to tell. Nobody has been through any of this before. None of us have been through this in our lifetime. Even old guys like me. Are you writing this down? You keeping a memoir? I mean, there's some stories to tell down the road about this. I mean, are you able to kind of soak that in yet, or as it's happening, maybe you're not having a chance till maybe later on?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I should do a journal or something. No, I haven't written it down. I got a lot of it in text though. I mean, the amount of text and calls I get, just curious of the situation and how we're doing, and check in to make sure I'm okay and how am I swinging it and blah blah blah. So I got phone calls and texts all day, every day, trying to get back, and DMs on Instagram, and people, a lot of support. A lot of support. But I guess I'm trying to type the situation and keep everyone updated. So I got it all through there. I guess I can flip back and find some things, but hopefully I remember this all. I'm trying to focus on the good things and keep going forward.
Well, my friend, it's always great to see you and appreciate your time. And you're off to a good start. I didn't get a chance to even talk about that. You're off to a good start, but it's baseball. But that's another thing. And as we wrap it up, you were in shape. You weren't just sitting around in your duff up in Pennsylvania. You're busting your hump. We saw that. That's a big plus too. You came ready to play, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the weight situation and stuff in my basement, so I'm probably in better shape than I ever have been as far as like going into a season. So yeah, I'm ready. I mean, more ready than probably most years.
Well, I appreciate your time. Best to you. Best to your family, to your fiance, and from all the T-Bones family. We're proud of you. We love you, and we'll be pulling for you. I'm sure you've heard from us all, but appreciate your time. Be safe, and we'll be watching you on the American Association site. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Be safe.